From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DBIC, the Primetime Capper, and this is the PrimeTime Angles, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. And yes, we are live, but you know what? You can't catch the replay, so you might be watching the replay, so you might not be watching this live. But if you are watching live on YouTube, on Facebook, or on Twitter, go ahead. If you got questions or if you want to participate in the show as we go, I would love it. I would love it, love it, love it. All right, so here we are. Here we are. Let's go ahead and jump into our first topic in hand. And, you know, I have to get into the NFL draft. And you know what's going on with the NFL draft. We got ourselves a whole bunch of great prospects, possible future Hall of Famers, Pro Bowlers, bench warmers. You know how it goes. But let's go ahead and evaluate the defensive back position. As you guys can see, it's going to be a very, very tricky situation when it comes to that, in my opinion. The DB position in the NFL is such a hit or miss, and it's such a high in a sense, you know what I mean, where you'll be up on Tuesday and be down on Friday. That's what type of situation it is, where, hey, you could be the best cornerback in the league one weekend, and then once everybody figures that out and you get burnt on a 70-yard route, then all of a sudden you're overrated, you're overplaying, and you know you just got lucky. So it's a real to be a consistent defensive back in this league is tough. You know what I mean? And there's only so many of them, but there's so many of them that are able to prove their points early in their career. They truly are. Great example, Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner is a guy that pretty much is changed the position in a sense to where now everybody has to be long. Before it used to just be a speedy guy who could just keep up with you. So most times to be a 5'9", 5'10", 160, 70-pound guy who can stand out and, you know, go against that receiver. Now you have to have a cornerback that's going to be a big guy. You know what I mean? He's going to have to be 6'1", 6'2", 190. You know what I mean? And when you look at the players in this draft, you have a lot of quality at the position. Like the guy that we're looking at right now, Cam Smith. Cam Smith is a guy who's 6 foot, 188 pounds. They see him as a great excellent pro prospect, and he's been playing on an elite level for the last 2 seasons. And you know, he has a lot going in his favor, and you know, he has a class leading stat that shows that he's the best corner with a passer rating, something of that nature. You know, just these little mindless stats that they throw out there. The boy is good. That's what he is. So the number 1 rated corner is going to be Devin Witherspoon from Illinois. And Devin Witherspoon is a guy that really does check off every mark that you need. 6'1", ran a 4.3. Also is just, he's already number 4 at the position. He's number 4 at the position, but the number 1 overall rating. So he's a 90% on the rating with NFL draft. But so I'm looking at this right now and I'm telling myself, okay, this guy is going to probably be the first corner off the board, but not so fast. Joey Porter Jr. is also a guy that is a very is what I would like to call a legacy player, because Joey Porter, regardless of anything, he probably won't ever make the Hall of Fame, but he was a top linebacker in the NFL in his prime. So we know that Joey Porter, quite possibly his dad, will probably be a Hall of Famer probably 25, 30 years from now, when, you know, it's just one of those, get in one of the old guys situations, because Joey Porter was a world champion as well too. So, there's just a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of good coaching there. And if he has the same dog in him that his father had, watch out. Now, his 40th time isn't spectacular, even though it's a 4.47. That me saying that it's not spectacular is like crazy, because a 4.4 is like the average now. It used to be like absolutely like, wow, this guy is fast. Now it's like, okay, we got guys running 4.3s and 4.2s and 4.1s, and it's just, okay, all right. You know what I mean? So pretty much you look at the position, a guy that sticks out to me is actually safety Antonio Johnson, who's 6'3", 195 pounds. He's very quick, got good speed, and he hits like a Mack truck. And that's something that's going to be very key. He's probably going to be a guy that drops to a team that's already playoff ready. You know what I mean? I would say possibly a team like the Bengals, maybe, you know what I mean? But I think that if you're a team that's looking for probably a really good team leader and a guy that can be plugged in right away, he should be at the top of your draft board. And you know that the SEC got all their guys, but I got to talk about a guy from the U, Tyreek Stevenson. I like his measurements. The guy's 204. He runs a 4.4 flat. He's also he's an 86.7. But the thing is, though, he's from the U, and he does something to where he doesn't need to really grab on you to be a good cover man. And those guys are the guys that really make their money stretch for them in their careers, in my opinion. So I think that could be a possible big time pick for them as well, too, for anybody. And I think that he'll probably be an early second round pick, but I think that he can be somebody that's going to be very high, is a high valued asset moving forward with the right coaching. So the defensive back position, though, the question I pose is this: is it overlooked this year, or is it a down year? I think that is being overlooked this year. But when it comes down to it, these teams in the top 10 do not need corners. None of them do. You know what I mean? Having a corner for all those teams would be luxuries, because with this position, you have a lot of stock available. These guys usually all get picked in the late rounds, like 4 through 7 in reality, and they all can make their mark. And they are like priority on the undrafted free agent market as well, too. So the defensive back position is always going to be a position in need, because it's always a position that is a next man up position. Everybody knows that, because guys will be balling one play and then tearing out their ACL the next play. So you have to be ready. And that's why they keep a lot of defensive backs on the roster. So this is a position that it looks like it might be having a down year, because you don't have that significant guy. You don't have them talking about guys like they talked about Sauce Gardner and everything last year. So it's a little different this time around. So with that, we go ahead and we can wrap this up, and we move forward to what happened last night in college basketball for our game of the day yesterday, which was Alabama and Auburn. That game was absolutely incredible. That game had a lot of twists and turns. I know I'm a little mad because I had the plus 390 on Auburn last night. Auburn went ahead and blew a 17-point lead, and they were up 10. They were up 10 with under 8 minutes. So I feel that Auburn got a little cute, but they just couldn't withstand the storm. And I kept telling myself, I said, I was going back and forth with that game and the Laker game last night. And what I saw, and I said to myself, all right, they're within 2 now, or 3. They were within 2 or 3 points, and only 3 minutes had 8 off the clock. And I said that Auburn is doing everything to lose this game now, because they're not chewing up the clock, because they were falling so in love with making buckets at the time, because they were making consistent buckets, and Alabama wasn't stepping their defense up. And then once Alabama steps their defense up, well, Auburn just didn't get the memo. And Auburn needed that win very badly last night, because they're playing in a conference right now. Let's keep it real. let's just keep it real here. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams with the idea that they're going to get into this tournament. Vanderbilt will probably be left out 17 and 13, but they're a 10 and 17 in the SEC. And Auburn's a 9 and 8 team, 19 and 11. And then you have Arkansas, who's 19 and 11. I think that I said the other day, I think that they get in 6. Now I'm looking at the SEC situation, they probably get in 8. So Auburn really needed to get that win last night to pretty much ensure probably, I would say, a 7 or a 6 seed. But now that team in Auburn is going to have to really win some games here in the SEC tournament. But Alabama last night, let's talk about Alabama. I know Alabama's been having a lot of controversy and everything like that. And I haven't spoke on it because this is not my place to speak on it, because this is not a show that's worried about criminal investigations. But Brandon Miller is clear from that situation. And I think that a lot of people need to move on and actually blame the person who did the actual crime and not be on somebody who is somewhat a victim of circumstance, in a sense, where he pulls up, he's thinking he's doing something good. He's abiding to a request from a roommate, friend, person, and that person goes ahead and ruins their life 15 minutes later. He had no clue that what they were doing. So we can go ahead and you got to just let it go, because he didn't get suspended. He's not being charged for anything, and we can't have a sloppy way of reporting when it comes to this situation. So until there's something that involves him with the situation, he shouldn't be brought up into the situation. So Miller gets 17 points last night, and he got these points in those last 6 minutes, which was incredible, because the guy they were worried about him actually getting, he had a 30-game consecutive 10-plus point streak. So they were really adamant to try to get him where they need to get him. But look at his stat line. He had 17 points, he had 8 rebounds, and he had 2 assists, but he did have 6 turnovers. That was crucial. That's what kept these guys in the game, and that might be from being distracted. And but he came up huge, you know what I mean? And he came up huge when you needed to come up huge. Now, I saw something in him last night that said to me that he could be a top 3 pick in the draft. He has a smooth delivery, he's a smooth basketball player, and he plays the game fairly easy, and he plays both ends of the floor. So Alabama does have themselves what Dickie V would call a PTPer. And this was a great game last night. When you look at the numbers at the end of the day, the thing that just beat Auburn up was the turnovers. They out-rebounded them last night, which was critical, but they didn't win the offensive rebound battle either. And I saw that last night as well, too, which, resulted in them losing that game. So, it is what it is at the end of the day. Alabama gets a big win. They're the number 2 team in the nation. They are 16-1 now in conference play. They are the number 1 seed going into the SEC tournament next week as well. So this is going to be a very intriguing tournament to watch, because I really do feel like it's going to be a scrap. It's going to be a true scrap, because we all know, I don't know if they're splitting up I don't know if the SEC splits up the conference anymore. I think that they just go all in on it. But I remember East and West and things of that nature and all that good stuff. So pretty much, I think when it comes down to it, you have Auburn and Alabama, who are going to be teams that you have to look out for. But Kentucky, as I keep saying, Kentucky is the team to beat. They are the team to beat. And this is why it makes it so tough, because Tennessee has a chance. Missouri can be sneaky as well, too. Ben Howland can figure out a way to touch his team and get them to where they need to go. Arkansas is a very, very very high value play, in my opinion, because they are a team that was in the top 10 earlier this year, and they're probably going to be a team that does damage in the tournament this year as well, too. Okay, so you just have yourself a very, very good group, and this is going to be probably the best top 8 situation that going. And I don't really think that honestly, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, South Carolina, and LSU are going to play any type of factor into this. In upset wise, but we'll see. We'll see. But the SEC, you got to pay attention. This conference is really good. All right, so let's go ahead and move forward, and let's talk about those Bruins. UCLA coming in tonight, number 4 team in the nation, faces a possible trap game versus ASU tonight, as they may be looking ahead to Saturday's Showdown with number 8 Arizona. Now, UCLA did lose to Arizona earlier this year, well, last month, and that was, a reality check, because they actually had go ahead and lose the next week as well too, and lose by double digits, their worst loss of the season. So they played 2 bad games in a row at that point. And the game prior to that, they started off playing a pretty bad game, but then the defense locked it up. They were down 6 points with about 7 minutes left to go in the game. They literally went ahead, locked it up, and they cruised to a win over Arizona State. Arizona State is a team that is pretty much the 3rd team in. And from what I'm looking at right now, USC will probably get in as well, too. I thought it probably would be 3 coming out the Pac-12, but it looks like it's going to be 4, because you have Arizona State 29, and Arizona State does have quad 1 wins as well, too. And, that's pretty big moving forward, because they beat a number 20 Michigan at one point this season. Michigan was ranked when they beat them. And also, they did beat Arizona last weekend by 1. Arizona was the number 17 in the nation, 7 team in the nation. But UCLA cruised in this second half. They outscored them by 17 after being down 5. So they beat them by 12, actually. So Tiger Campbell had himself a game that day. And I think what happens here is that UCLA has to be on alert. They cannot play this game like, okay, we're UCLA and everything's going to work itself out, and we're going to do what we got to do to just go ahead and get to the finish line. Tonight, they're probably going to have to do the same thing that they did in Arizona State. They're going to have to lock it up, and they're going to sacrifice some offense for more great defense. When I say sacrifice some offense for some great defense, that means that you might have to, put a little bit extra effort on it, on the defensive end. And if you're missing shots and things like that, don't get your head down. Just know that if you keep playing defense, you'll beat them, and that's what I used to always say to my teams when I was coaching as well, too. So if you keep playing defense, you can beat them. But UCLA cannot look ahead to this Arizona game. And Arizona is in a tough spot tonight, because it's always been a house of horrors for the Wildcats going to USC, either being at the sports arena or at Galen. They have had the true issues against the Trojans on the road. And, they might like Pauly a little bit more than they like Galen, because it's always a tough matchup, because they always play USC first. And it's always on their mind, the UCLA game. The UCLA game stays on their mind, where, okay, we know UCLA is the arch rival, and we know UCLA is the team that we're chasing right now. So we're going to go ahead and try to, get over the hump. And USC always feels like you need to take us a little bit seriously. So this is going to be, both these teams need to make sure that they're not looking ahead. And great news for the Pac-12 tonight. You thought the Pac-12 was having some real issues. They actually have 3 games on ESPN or ESPN affiliated networks, and they have a game on FS1 tonight. Only one that gets left out is Oregon State and Stanford. So you have a double hitter with the Pac-12 tonight with Arizona State and UCLA, and then USC and Arizona. So I know ESPN is loving it, because they get to just hang out in LA all day today. So it is what it is with their 2 biggest college basketball games. So it's going to be a good day. You got number 4 UCLA, and they're looking to go ahead and get themselves another great win. UCLA doesn't have to worry about, holding off anybody to win the conference title, but they do need to win these games, because they are still on the border of possibly being a 2 seed, even though I feel like they are a number 1 seeded team but we'll see how it goes. UCLA is not really worried about that at the end of the day. All UCLA is truly worried about is winning games and getting to the national championship and cutting down those nets. That's what it's all about. That's what Jaime is here for. That's what Tiger is here for. That's what Jalen's here for. And I say that why these guys are here for, because they could have lied to themselves and ran to the NBA, and they didn't. And that's why you say, damn, Johnny, you should have stayed. All right, so let's go ahead and get into what's becoming my favorite subject, man. Like literally my favorite subject to talk about on the show when we talk news on the show. This is like the news portion of the show. So that's why I always kind of just throw these topics up there and everything if you're watching the show for the first time and everything like that. We're going to get to the bets in a moment. And once we get to the bets, it's all about the bets. So let's go ahead and get into the Kansas City Royals, 30 teams in 30 days. Kansas City Royals, who finished last place in the AL Central last year, they were 65-97. And, you know, that's just kind of like what you've been used to in Kansas City with the Royals. But let me tell you something. If the Royals balling, they'll get all the attention in the city of Kansas City. Seriously. And I know they say Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, they run this, da-da-da-da-da. But the Royals hold a special place in Kansas City fans' hearts. They truly do. Because, you know, for a long time, the Kansas City Royals were a pretty good team. You know what I mean? And they supplied George Brett to us, all that good stuff. And you know, the 80s, it was a fun time for Kansas City Royals fans. They won a World Series as well too. And then they had to wait 30 years for them to even think about going back to a World Series. And I think they had to wait about 28 years to even get back to a playoff series. So, you know, it's been a very mediocre ride in my lifetime for the Kansas City Royals ever since past like 86 or 87, whenever they won that title, 85, I don't know. But this team is, when you look at them, there's not much to look at. A lot of their better players are not on the roster anymore. When you look at their 2022 stats, they still have Sal Perez, who is a perennial all-star, was a part of the World Series group, the World Series group that went to two back-to-back World Series as well. They have a designated hitter projected to be the leadoff man. I'm like, whenever you are putting the designated hitter as a leadoff man, that means that you got some real issues, in my opinion. And he's projected to strike out the most out of the team too. Why would you have the guy who strikes out the most as the leadoff man? It's like seriously, like what are we doing here, Kansas City? When you think about it, like Kansas City, I don't think that they're trying to set themselves up to fail, but they just are cheap. That's the problem. You know what I mean? And that's what I know Kansas City fans have always been mad about, is that they're just a cheap team. It's that simple. They're not going to pay for anybody. It's not going to happen, you know, and they want to grow out everything homegrown, which is understandable. But at the same time, too, you don't scout that well either. So that's why you keep being a loser. So that's a lot of things that happen to bad teams, you know what I mean, where they just keep losing because they don't know how to put a team together. And the KC Royals really do have what I would say a very, very under the radar situation, because they do have some guys here that can rake. You have to understand that they have pretty much almost 100 home runs 1 through 4. Okay. Melendez, 21 home runs projected. Bobby Witt Jr., who's probably going to be the best player outside of Sal Perez. At shortstop, he's actually stole 30 bases last year. So that's something that to kind of look into. But he strikes out too much as well, too. 138 strikeouts projected for next year. That's awful. But he has a 263 average that they can grow on. And then you got Vince Passaquantino, the first baseman. I love that name, Passaquantino. And he may be the best player on the team. You know what I mean? Definitely the best hitter because he is hitting for the best average on the team. And he's not projected to strike out 100 times next year. So that's why they have him in the four hole. He could be somebody that can be value for this team as well, too. Then I look at the outfielders. You got Olivares and Isbell. I think that Jackie Bradley Jr. will probably be somebody that will get to step in and actually be a starter this year. And then you got Michael Massey, who's he's a guy that will be a very good glove for them this year. And then you got Nathan Eden, the other outfielder. And he seems to be a guy that's just going to be at the bottom of your lineup, and he'll probably be in and out the lineup as well, too. Now, when I look at the pitching staff, we got the great Zach Greinke still there. Zach Greinke is a guy that was so good on the Dodgers. He was so good on the Brewers. He was really good on the Angels. He was really good in Arizona as well, too. And then he went to the Astros, and he was pretty damn good there. And then he decides to say, you know what? I'm not going to go play for a, contender anymore. I'm going to go play for the team that drafted me to close up my career. I want to go back to Kansas City. Even though you forced a trade out of Kansas City, but they didn't want to pay you, you went back to Kansas City. So, that's pretty great in itself. So he's the only highlight I can talk about. But Jordan Lyles, he's a bad pitcher. But at the end of the day, Jordan Lyles is still consistent enough to, get through innings and get you. So, and, if he gets some run support, he'll get you a win. Brady Singer is probably the best pitcher from last year, not named Zach Greinke. And then Ryan Yarbrough is a guy that, was with the Rays, was part of the World Series group as well, too. And, he's coming back slowly from his injury. So he should be okay. And then Brad Keller is a guy that's really more of a spot starter. I know that they probably have a competition for this spot, but Brad Keller can be depended on as well, too. So you have a good starting rotation in a sense, but they're going to have to get some run support, and they're going to have to be consistent as well, too. But when you look at it, they can be one of the better pitching staffs, but I just think that the hitting is going to be a big problem. So I got them going under 69.5 for the season. I think that that's a good number. I think that they're a team that they probably win the same amount of games they won last year. And they possibly could be a 100-loss team. And it's not going to be because they're bad. It's just because they're just they don't have as much talent as the rest of the MLB. You know what I mean? And they got some good veterans, in a sense, some guys that were a part of good teams, but they weren't the stars of those teams. They weren't even like the second fiddle of those teams. So, under 69.5, I like it. I think that's what it's going to be. Tomorrow, we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk Minnesota Twins tomorrow. So Minnesota Twins, that one should be a lot of fun because they got players on that team that I am very intrigued with. So you guys make sure to tune in for that for 30 teams in 30 days. And I'll be back. We're going to take our first commercial break. I know I spent a lot of time talking, so let's go ahead and get a little break in. And once I get back, we'll jump into the NBA for tonight, and we'll talk the state of the Lakers. And then after that, talking tickets. So with that, this is the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, we are back with the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles Live, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. And I should just say the Primetime Angles because you might be watching this on replay. So, it is what it is. But it is live right now. So if you do have questions, things like that, call on into the participate. I'm here. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the state of the Lakers. As you can see last night, big high fives all around. Lonnie Walker and Dennis Schroeder up there doing the damn thing last night, getting the Lakers a great win, helping the Lakers get a great win. The Lakers, when you run the stats last night, this was the best team win of the season. Yeah, you didn't have Bron, you didn't have AD, you didn't have D'Lo, but the Lakers still wound up having 6 guys scoring double figures last night. Dennis Schroeder led the way with 26, and really Dennis Schroeder took over in the fourth quarter as well too. So that's why it looks so good because Dennis Schroeder at one point was like, he had like 10 points and then he scored about 16 points in the second half. So he had a big half. Troy Brown had 19 points last night and he had 12 first half points as well too. He led the way in that regard. Mo Bamba had a great third quarter. He wound up starting last night and he had 12 points and 7 rebounds. And I called for Mo Bamba to have a big game, and that's exactly what he did. So he went ahead and he had 7 rebounds and he got 3 really big offensive rebounds last night as well too. Malik Beasley was pretty good last night. Even though he went 4 for 15, he did hit 3 very timely threes when the Lakers needed it, and he wound up with 11 last night. Austin Reeves, though, he might have been the engine that could coming off the bench. Very, very good leader. So, I think that he brings the same value that Caruso brought. And his way is true now. He had 19 points, 4 rebounds last night, all which were very key. And then he hit 8 or 9 free throws last night as well, too. So that was huge for the Lakers. Also, Jared Vanderbilt had 7 points, 4 rebounds as well. And Hachimura hit a very big-time 3 in the fourth quarter as well, too. He only had 9 points, but that 3-pointer was huge. But he had 9 rebounds last night, and that was the second best total because my man Wayne Gabriel had himself 10 rebounds last night with 4 offensive rebounds. So that was pretty huge. How the Lakers played this game. Only one that did not get to play last night was Davin Reed for active players, and Davin Reed's kind of new to the mix. Anthony Davis was out. LeBron, like I said before, LeBron was out. So it was, one of those games for the Lakers. The Lakers shot well from the field, 47.5. They shot really well from the three-point line, wound up getting 16 out of 35, going for 45%. They won that battle last night, and they did hit they did hit almost 80% free throws. They had 39 of them last night. That was pretty helpful, but the Thunder weren't playing great defense anyway, so it didn't matter. Lakers had 41 rebounds, but they did get out-rebounded by 1. The Thunder had 42. Now, the Thunder did out-rebound them on the offensive end as well, too, 12-10. But those 10 coming from the Lakers were huge. But this is where the Lakers won this game at. 8 steals, 8 blocks. They led in those categories. They did have 13 turnovers, but still, they forced 11 turnovers last night. So it wasn't like the night before where they scored, 26 turnovers. So the Lakers get themselves a good win. The Thunder are starting to kind of drop off a little bit. Giddey and Williams were pretty good last night, but that was about it. You had Lou Dort, who had 19 as well. Joe and Zark had a good game off the bench, but, they didn't have Shea last night, so that'd be the excuse that they didn't have their best player. But as I said before, this team in the Thunder, they're actually a team they're not supposed to be this good. So literally they're falling in place right now. So the Lakers right now find themselves very close to getting into this play-in. So it's a very critical 5-game home stretch because LeBron has just been confirmed to be out for the next 3 weeks. So what they're saying is LeBron won't be available until the start of April. That's all it is. And they're going to pretty much have LeBron in there for the final games of the season. And if the Lakers don't compete here, he's just going to be done for the rest of the season. Let's just keep it real. So right now, the Lakers are sitting right behind the New Orleans Pelicans, and the Pelicans, they are in a good situation against it because the Pelicans are a team that they're going to play very soon, and they have 2 out of 3 wins over the Pelicans. But you get kind of mad because if they would have been able to get that win, the one loss that they had that they should have won, they would actually be in the 10 spot right now. But the Lakers are moving into that. They're moving in, and the Lakers are looking to have a winning record as well too for the first time in almost 2 years. So 30 and 33, you really wish they would have been able to beat Memphis the other night because it makes life a lot more easier. But that's how the Lakers season has been. And this time around, like I said, this 5-game stretch is critical on the Lakers season right now. And I know that the coach is really hammered that onto their head. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. State of the Lakers. We got a game tomorrow. We'll talk a lot about that when we get to that game. Hopefully D-Lo will be back. I know AD will be back for sure. And we just go from there. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into our next topics in hand, and that's going to be NBA Thursday night. And we got the Raptors and the Wizards. The Raptors 31-32. The Wizards are 29-32. Now, when you look at what's going on here, you have yourself a very, very, very intriguing matchup. You have 2 teams that are chasing playoff spots. You have the Raptors who are in the playoffs, and then you have the Wizards who are in the play-in. So the Raptors are playing their first game of the month. It's a back-to-back with Washington as well too to start off a 5-game road trip that it does find them on the West Coast after this, playing Denver, LA, and LA. They're playing the Clippers and the Lakers, but they don't have to play them back to back. But they get a little bit of time. You know what I mean? They don't have any back to backs except for once this month, and that's going to be when they play Minnesota and Milwaukee. So you got a Raptors team that actually had a very good month of February. They wound up getting themselves right where they needed to be. They went 8-3, and they just came off of a good win over the Chicago Bulls as well too at home. So they're looking to go ahead and keep the good times rolling. They are sitting in the catbird seat of the playoffs with the 9 seed, and then you have Washington who's sitting at the 10 seed. So this game really kind of speaks volumes for these guys. You know what I mean? And then you have this Wizards team that's actually kind of rejuvenated since they got Kendrick Nunn. Who would have thunk it? So pretty much who would have thunk it? So pretty much we have ourselves. Just give me 1 second. Let me tell this person I'm going to call him back. All right, so there we are. We have Raptors, Wizards, and I think what we do tonight is we play the Wizards because the Wizards, they were decent last month. They won 5 games. They wound up losing 6. That's not bad, but it's not good. But I still do like the Wizards with the plus 110 tonight. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it checks out. We move forward from there. Let's go ahead and jump into our next game, which is going to be the Mavs and it's going to be this game. it's going to be, it should be, yeah, it's going to be the 76ers and the Mavericks. So 76ers and the Mavericks. 76ers 40-21. Mavs over here going through the motions right now, 32-31. They are playing bad basketball right now as well, too. Not very good defensively right now. They wound up losing their last their last 5 out of 6 in the month of February, after they were started off 4-1. So this team is, they're going through the motions a little bit. Blew a 27-point lead against the Lakers, then played against Indiana the other night and really had themselves a really bad second quarter that really was the end point of the game for them. So they could never get back in that game. That was what the problem was. So pretty much with that, the Pacers were able to get themselves a win after struggling for a while, and they just keep adding to the Mavericks' woes. You know what I mean? So pretty much what do we have here? We have ourselves a very intriguing situation here. So we have a 76ers team that's just floating on cloud nine. Nobody's worried about them. They got a good win last night. They actually went ahead and beat Miami by 23 on the road. This is a part of a 5-game road trip as well, too. So this is going to be their toughest stretch of the season because they have Milwaukee coming up after this. They have a game in Indiana as well, too. And then they end up with Minnesota, who's actually started to play better basketball as well, too. So you had Philly, who had just snapped a 2-game losing streak, but they had a really good month of February. They wound up actually going 7-4. So I think tonight, when it comes down to this one, I like the over. I think that's going to be the play. It's going to be a TNT game as well, too. So it should be a good one. I think Embiid will show out. I think Luka will show out. I think Kyrie will show out. Everybody's going to have a good game tonight and score a lot of points, but it's going to come down to who wants it more. And I think that the Mavs, the way that they've been struggling, it's going to be on national television, and you know that they're going to be talking a whole lot about Kyrie and Luka and hoping that they can get along. They'll probably have one of those feel-good moment games. You might want to take the Mavs in this one. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out, but I would say, the 76ers could be a good dog for you today as well, too. So, that's why I'm taking the spread. Let's see how it goes. I'm taking it over 229 because that's what it's reading. That's the morning line of 228.5. So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the Pacers and the Spurs. The Pacers. We just got done talking about the Pacers, who I'm much love to the Pacers, man. Plus 290 the other night. They took care of business for me. You got the Pacers who are, going through the motions. They are on the outside looking in as well, too, trying to get themselves possibly in the 10 seed as well, too. There's a lot of teams looking at that spot. Now, they did lose 5 in a row in February, and they lost 7 games overall, only winning 4. But they wound up winning the last 2 games of the month. They wound up winning 3 out of 4 of their last games after struggling, the latter part of the month. Like literally, they were 1-6, and then they finish up 3-1. So the Pacers are on the up and up. Halliburton just celebrated his birthday yesterday, so there should be a lot of good things going on here. But they're going against the Spurs team that might be a little desperate. Spurs just got themselves a win the other night because they were struggling. They actually struggled the whole month of February. They almost got shut out for the month of February as well, too. They actually absolutely were dreadful because they took a 6-game losing streak into the month. Then they wound up losing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games in a row. So they lost 16 games in a row. And literally, these guys are like 2-23 in the last 6 weeks. So they are like the last 2 months, actually, because they only won 2 games last month. So this team has not been playing good basketball at all. You know what I mean? So pretty much, they went 2-13 last month. They go 1-10 this month. It's just Pop. I know Pop is just ready to retire this situation, man. Seriously. So that's just not good at all, man. That's 23 and 23 in the last 2 months, man. So, it's dreadful right now. And only thing they can do is look up. You know what I mean? So I think tonight the Pacers might overlook them a little bit. And I think that the Spurs might forget that they're playing such bad basketball and actually covering this game, because they did get a good win to finish up. They did get a good win to finish up the month as well too. You know what I mean? So that's something that they can't tip their cap to, because they did win in Utah. So I think the Pacers are a little bit, behind Utah a little bit. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. All right, let's go ahead and move forward. We have ourselves a fun one here with the Clippers and the Warriors. Everybody loves when they get together. I'll be pretty quick here because you got two teams that are chasing not having to be in the play-in. They're trying to avoid the play-in, okay? You got the Clippers who are trying to get to a fresh start. The Clippers have lost 3 in a row since acquiring Westbrook. So, it's not working out the way that everybody envisioned it, and even myself, but they did have a pretty bad month. Anyway, they went 4-6. So pretty much they are trying to bounce back and put themselves in position to be in the regular playoffs and don't have to worry about a plan. That's what got the Clippers in trouble last year. They wound up losing both games and being out of the playoffs last year. So you have the Clippers, who are the 5 seed right now, and you got Golden State, who's the 6 seed. They are dead even, but the only thing separating them is that the Clippers have one more win than the Warriors, but one more loss than the Warriors as well too. And the Warriors actually have been playing such good basketball under the radar. I know I've been clowning them, but they did win their last 3 in a row as well too. But they still had their struggles on the road last month, and they've been struggling on the road. But they did do well, but they gave them a pretty killer's row of games as well too. You beat Houston, Minnesota, and Portland, so you won games you're supposed to win. So they're taking care of their business without Curry. But this is going to be a tough game tonight. The 4-point spread is telling us that as well too. So usually when you see the Warriors as a home dog, you might get excited, but they're not a great underdog. So I feel like what happens here is that we have ourselves a really, really good defensive game tonight. And I know that it's been the over trend for the Clippers in these last few games, but this game goes under. So that's what I see it as. It's going under 231.5 tonight. So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it checks out. We move forward from there. All right. So let's go ahead and get into talking tickets. But actually, we're going to talk conference tourney bets first. So conference tourney bets, where are we going with this? We got a bunch of tourneys going on right now. And up first, we got the A-Sun. A-Sun. We keep planets in orbits. That's Old Dirty Bastards, a.k.a. A-Sun Unique. So if you really know Wu-Tang, you would know that. I wouldn't have to tell you that. If you know Wu-Tang. So, and I love the Wu Saga as well, too. That's a beautiful show. But let's go ahead. A-Sun tonight. I do like Kennesaw State, the number 1 seed. That it's going to be a tough game. Let's not play like it's going to be a walk in the park for Kennesaw. Kennesaw State is new to this. It's going to be a very, good moment for this team, because they did go from being in the MEAC they were in the MEAC. Now they're in the A-Sun, and they're trying to make the tournament. They wanted to be in a better conference, and that's exactly what they've done. And, it's going to be a good game tonight with Lipscomb, because Lipscomb, 20-12, they always kind of play. And, they are a team that has been to a few tournaments, you know what I mean? So over the last decade. So they're not scared to pull upsets. So Kennesaw State, being the new kid on the block and having such a breakout season, they don't want their season to end tonight. So they're going to have to step it up big time here and have themselves a game. Then you have Eastern Kentucky that I have in this next spot. And Eastern Kentucky has won their last 3 out of 5, including 2 in a row. And they did get a great win against Northern Alabama, beating them by 25 the other night. Liberty has been an absolute dominant force. They destroyed Bellarmine after they got their great win to advance. They beat them by 20 last night. And, they just that, sometimes when you get a big win the night before, you might regress the next night. I'm not saying that Liberty loses, because it's going to be tough for Liberty to lose, but Liberty may not cover this game. I think they win by 10 or less. So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it checks out. We move forward from there. All right, we have ourselves the Horizon League Tourney quarters. That is actually going to be played at the schools, but then it's going to be played. The semis are going to be played on neutral territory. Let me confirm that. Yeah, that's what's happening. They're going to play in Indianapolis for the semifinals and the finals. So what I see here, I got Oakland tonight. Oakland is in a good spot. Oakland's in a spot where they could possibly get an upset. Okay, because that's how the Horizon works. There is no promises here. That's why Butler left. That's why Creighton left. There's just no promises here. Northern Kentucky, good team, but once again, this is going to be a game where they're going to have to grit it down, because Oakland's going to be tough. Robert Morris tonight, I like them with the plus 240. I think they're going to be absolutely must play in that situation. This is a rivalry game, so they don't have to go far. They literally got to go down the street to go play Cleveland State. And then we have a good one with Youngstown State, the number 1 seed. They're playing against Detroit. Detroit has the number 1 scorer in college basketball as well, too. So that should be a lot of fun in that game tonight, because that they're going to be really glued in on trying to stop that guy tonight. But Youngstown State is an absolute machine. So I think that they should be good to go and win this game by double digits. And let's say about 12 or better. All right. And then we have Wright State. Wright State's a team that I look at as well, too, as a possible winner of this tournament. I think that it comes down to Youngstown State and a Youngstown State or Wright State here. And I like Wright State tonight with the minus 135. Even though Milwaukee is a tough task because they're playing at Milwaukee, I think Wright State has what it takes to go ahead and get themselves a good win here tonight. So that's what I'm going with the Horizon League. All right, we got the Missouri Valley. We already played the Illinois State game, and Illinois State did lose that game. So pretty much we have a very good thing. We got some good going on. Now, Indiana State right now is up 56-38. Hopefully they can hold on to that and get us that win there. So don't worry about the first 2 games up there. I made sure to show you guys this because we do have the next 2 games that are coming up at 4 and 6:30, because that they're playing this one on a neutral court. Missouri Valley got a little bit of money. They actually played the championship game on CBS as well, too. So that's pretty fun. So they are in St. Louis, Missouri, as they usually are. So pretty much I like Murray State tonight. And then I also like the plus 8.5 with UIC as well. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. All right. Our next one up is going to be the Patriot League. Oh, actually, the OVC. Southeast Missouri took care of us last night, got themselves a very, very, very good win as well, too. Last night, they played their butts off, to be honest with you. They wound up winning that game by 19 points last night. And Tennessee State is a tough task, but I think that they have what it takes to win. You know what I mean? And I think, playing on this neutral court, they're playing in Evansville as well, too. I think that Southeast Missouri State steps it up big, and they get themselves a good win over a Tennessee State team that's had a good season in the conference. They're the 3rd seed and everything like that. But I truly do think that, the way that SEMO has played this year, they have proven their point that they can – I have them winning the tournament. So we'll see how it goes. We got UT Martin as well, too, plus 105 today. UT Martin is going to be playing against SIUE. That's Edwardsville. So I think what happens here is that Tennessee Martin gets themselves a good win, even though they're both – one's 19-13, the other is 18-13. Tennessee Martin, though, has always steps it up in these spots. I think that this will be a good one for him tonight. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. All right, we go to the Patriot League. The Patriot League, Army, the team that I do have winning this tournament. I have them at minus 160. Then we have plus 16.5 with Loyola. And then we also have American tonight, who's going to be a part of my dog day ticket at plus 240. And then we have Lehigh as well, too. This is a toughie, though. This one is one that we crap shooting a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get back my wins, man, because we did have ourselves a little bit of a struggle, even though American covered. Even though American won, they didn't cover. But I do have American having a big one tonight, because this is a team that could possibly go ahead and shake the apple cart and actually win this tournament at 50-1. So you have to look at that number and tell yourself that you could take that number. Lehigh against Lafayette tonight, I don't really see anything that stops Lehigh from winning that, but Lafayette is a standard bearer of the Patriot League, so that could be a tough game. Colgate and Loyola tonight, I think Colgate wins, but Loyola figures out a way to cover. And then we also have Army, who I already said is the team that I have winning the tournament, but they do have probably the toughest game of anybody that I'm betting on, and because they're playing Boston U. This is pretty much a toss-up, so I think Army will have what it takes to win this game. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out, and we'll just move from there. All right, we have ourselves the Sun Belt, and we had App State actually lose earlier today, so they're out of it. And Troy is actually – are they playing right now? Troy is – playing. They're up 2 right now, but we have them on 8.5. So hopefully they can hold on and win the game and possibly go ahead and win by 10, because it can still happen. But man, you hate when you see a team only up 2 and they have an 8.5 spread. But we have Old Dominion, the team that I have winning this tournament, and I have them winning in this tournament at a big number of 50-1 as well. And then I also have upset tonight somewhat. I think that Louisiana Monroe actually wins this game with nobody, nobody's worried about them, but so they'll be sneaky tonight, right? But I'll take the insurance instead. I think that they absolutely cover this game and they possibly win this game. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out, and we move forward from there. We have ourselves the West Coast Conference coming up now. West Coast Conference, we have Portland and Pacific tonight. Portland's in a good spot when their game going against a very fun team in they're going against a very fun team in San Diego, but I think Portland has what it takes to win that game by 6 or better. And then we got Pacific in the nightcap, and I think that they go ahead and they get a good win over Pepperdine. And yes, it's going to be on a neutral floor, so it should be good. They're all used to being in Vegas, so it should be a lot of fun. All right, let's go ahead and get to Talkin Tickets. And Talkin Tickets, we have pretty much a very good group. 46-1 plus 16 on Marist. Temple money line minus 110. Michigan plus 5. Grambling minus 8.5. Pine Bluff money line minus 115. And we got Alcorn State with the minus 5.5. So that's what we're doing. 46-1 tonight, and that should be a real quality. That's a quality ticket. And then we have the American money line plus 230, Manhattan plus 265, Western Kentucky plus 130, and then we end up with Pacific at plus 130. All right. And then we finish up with our pick 4 in the NBA. It's going to be 14-1, Wizards plus 110, over 229, 76ers Mavs, plus 6 with the Spurs, and then the under 231 with the Clippers and the Warriors. So that's going to be our tickets right there, and hopefully we can go ahead and cast these bad boys out. So I want to go ahead and thank you guys so much for tuning in today. You guys are the absolute best, and as I always like to say, bet with your head, not with your heart. The movement is moving, and this is the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.